This is the Bar Steward's Enquiry.
Right? You're talking absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
In what way?
You were an underachiever in life. I saved your bacon one time. You were gone.
You handled that well. I couldn't save you. But you did the right thing.
But that's why you don't know anything about racing, John.
I didn't say I do.
Right?
I'm saying that...
What have you contributed to racing? You're one of these take-out merchants. Take out all you can.
And a very good and welcome to the Bar Steward's Inquiry, a different voice introducing the show this evening. Yes, it's Andy Richmond who's got hold of the controls. Unfortunately, we've got a little bit of sickness in the camp. Mr. Keys, Lee, is ill today. So I'm afraid we're sending our condolences to him. And unfortunately as well, we're missing Mr. Leng as well. So we're going down like 9 pins at the moment. But do not despair. Bar Stewards Inquiry listeners, we do have a fantastic duo to put their points of view over to you this evening. We've got the Queen of Irish Racing and the Queen of National Hunt as well, Cathryn Fry, joining us, and the current leader in the Naps table, or the tipping table for the Bar Stewards, Mr. Quentin Franks, who served us up a tasty duo last week with Bear Width on the all-weather and Trushan winning at Champions Day. Good evening, guys.
Evening, Andy.
Right. Well, what have we got today? Well, unfortunately, we're missing, as I said, we're missing John this evening. He's unfortunately had a family medical emergency. So we send our best wishes and all our love to John this evening and hope that he's okay. And I'm sure he'll be back on the Sunday sermon with Lee as well, who has been struck down. But that leaves the three of us to go through our 1, 2 and 3 point selections for this week, plus 10 ITV races, 5 from Cheltenham, 2 at Newbury and 3 at Doncaster. They are going to be busy boys this week. So without further ado, I'm going to get on with the 1 point selections, and I'll start because it's been a long time since we've heard from you, Cathryn. What's your 1 pointer?
I literally feel sorry for Lee because I had that bug and it's really not very nice, so he needs to rest up and rest the voice because like your voice completely goes. That's horrid. So my 1 pointer is actually on Saturday, first race on Saturday at Cheltenham. It's a horse I've had in my tracker for a while and I have mentioned him on the show before. Is Uncle Henry for Big Fat Gourd. I've had him like there's just something odd about this. So he had 2 falls in the summer when Snoozy was still in charge. The last day at Fairy House, he would have definitely fallen into the lovely hands camp. I think he wants good ground, and I think that obviously the ground should be absolutely spot on for him here. Jordan Gameford taking the mount. And he's around the 12-1 mark at the moment, and I think that's decent enough price. But like he's rated 122. If they've got any chance of obviously wanting to get into, I know we've got a while to go yet, but if they are looking at something, running in the Conditional Jockeys Handicap that opens the card on Saturday, if they're looking to maybe go to the Conditional race in March, obviously they need to be upping the ratings a bit. And I think he's got a decent enough chance. So that's my third best selection. Uncle Henry, first race on Saturday at Cheltenham.
Right, we're looking at there is one 14-1 loafing around with one of the books, 14-1 with 4 places, Cathryn. If you were going each way, but I don't think you are. Are you going on?
No, I'm gonna go each way. I'm gonna go each way. Yeah, because he's not the best jumper in the world.
Right. Okay.
But he has got a bit of talent. He's had a couple of, that he ran at the Punchestown Festival. That was a lovely hands ride, and the ride at Fairy House the last time he ran was definitely a lovely hands ride. So there's something there.
There's a lot of them around. So half a point each way. Uncle Henry will give you 14-1 and the 4 places for, as you put it, Big Fat Gourd, who's making his return to Cheltenham. I wonder how he'll be received. We'll leave that one for the
I think I might skip the parade ring.
Right, moving swiftly along. Quentin, where's your 1 point going this week?
My 1 point is going on a race tomorrow, Friday at Newbury. It's one I quite like in the 14-13. It's a 1 mile novice race. I felt Tidal Storm showed enough towards the end of the race. On debut at Salisbury, he was Green. He kind of latched onto the back of the pack. Was Green lost his position, and then really ran through the line strong to finish 6th place with running left. Physically, they didn't look a bad type in the paddock, and the racers started to work out well. The winner's gone in again. And then I think it was the 4th and the 8th, they ran 1st and 2nd in a novice at HQ yesterday. Beat by a sire in Cedar Moon who doesn't really get his stamp his stock to be sharp. Mentally, they're not there first time up. It's kind of backed up by the fact he's won from 60 odd with his first time out runners, and then 5 from 40 with his second up runners. He looks the type to take a fair size step forward. Ground will be no bother at all. The race looks a bit flaky in terms of newcomers, and the ones that have ran don't really set a massive standard. The Beckett thing that's been put in 2-1 looks underpriced, if anything. So yeah, 12-1 looks fair on Tidal Storm.
The form from the race that you mentioned, or the only race he's running at Salisbury, didn't look too bad. Wind Your Neck in one at Newmarket yesterday. Tenacious victory, and the Gadget Man sticks out. I think that ran a fair race yesterday as well. That was second to the 40-1 winner for Jane Chapel-Hyam, Juan Bermudez, yesterday, and that stuck on pretty well. So at the moment, that form from Salisbury is stacking up pretty well. The winner winning again in the 4th, running a very creditable 2nd yesterday. So
well, the 8th came out of the Salisbury race as well. The one Menendez. So
yeah.
It doesn't look a bad race, and I think it's kind of because it's happened so recently, people haven't really latched onto the form of it yet. So I think 12-1 looks overpriced.
Are you on the nosing with that, or are you?
Yeah, on the nose, on the nose.
Like it, straight on the nose.
Like it, straight on the nose. 1 point win, Tidal Storm. That's in the 2:30, the wonderfully timed 2:13. It'd be great these times if they actually stuck to them, wouldn't it? But we got no chance of that. My 1 point, for want of something else this weekend. I didn't say, we'd be discussing before the show started. I don't think it's the world's greatest weekend's racing, to be honest with you. Certainly over the sticks, it takes a while to get going. But I'm going to go with the Old Rowan Chase on Sunday, won by Nutswell last year. But I think All Mankind is going to be my 1 pointer. He's around a 5-1 chance at the moment. They had tried him over this trip before when they ran him against Tamrock de Mathan at Ayr in April. I think they were just trying to find out whether the extremely, or once headstrong, All Mankind had tried to would he stay the extra half a mile. Still a little bit jury's out with him, but top weights in races like this, in limited handicap chases, tend to favour, well, the weights tend to favour class acts. Certainly been the case. The Old Rowan has been won by 3 of the last 7 top weights. Wishful Thinking won it off 162. Froden won it off 158. And of course, Nutswell won it off 155 last year. I think it's a better race than it was last year. And All Mankind comes from a yard. They're good target trainers, flat left-handed track. He could have these in an awful lot of trouble. There are only a couple of people pricing it, or a couple of bookmakers pricing this up at the moment. He's around the 5-1 marker. So I think I'll probably just have to I have actually taken a little bit of 5-1. There were some bigger prices earlier in the week. There might be 2 or 3 dropping out of this, but that would be my 1 pointer. All Mankind in the Old Rowan, which is the Aintree, 3 o'clock on Sunday. Some decent racing on Sunday for once. So that's the 1 pointers all sorted out. We're up to 2 points now, and I'm going to start off with Quentin here.
Okay, perfect. Mine comes on Saturday in the 15:45 at Newbury, if it's a fillies novice race. No prices up for it yet, which is no surprise. I don't particularly like Cave Diver in the race, who's likely going to be put in favourite. She kind of had the run of things, physically not a bad type, but had the run of things at Nottingham. The one I do like is Qingxi. She's out of Madam Chiang, who was obviously a mudlark, won heavy ground, won a soft ground Group 1. And the way Qingxi moved for her debut suggested that she'll be at home when the mud is flying. Obviously, she made her debut 2 weeks ago, and we were in the middle of a dry patch. So there was no options on the turf. So she went to the weather at Newcastle, slowly away in rear midfield in a steadily run race. Didn't suit her at all. She was making decent late inroads without ever being hard pressed to do so. Doyle replaces Stevie Donahoe, which is an upgrade, and she looks the type to take a large step forward for what was a promising debut, with the ground almost certain to suit. It'll be desperate down there at Newbury. They got some rain today. It's already heavy, so it'll be split up by the race on Friday as well. Surprised to see she was strong in the market on debut, given she's kind of got a more 3-year-old page, but she was 4-1 into 9-4 on the show. I think she should be favourite for race. I don't think they'll put her in favourite. But yeah, she'll be my 2-point selection for Saturday.
That's Qingxi, the wonderfully named Qingxi, out of Madame Chang by Luke de Vega for the Simcock barn. Let's hope she doesn't get probably getting a hold up ride then.
Hopefully, you know what, they've ridden a bit more forward of late. To
they
be
must
honest,
have been listening. They've been listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Or John's been sending them messages round. Well, there's no prices up at the moment for Qingxi, so we might have to go SP on that, Quentin. But that's your 2-point selection this week for Quentin. Is Qingxi in the 3:45 at Newbury on Saturday. Cathryn, 2-pointer.
2-pointer. Okay, I'm going to go a point each way, and the selection is 14-1, and the race is the Pertemps qualifier at Cheltenham on Saturday, the 4:05. No surprise, I'm going to go with an Irish selection. The horse is McGillione, or McGillany, however you want to pronounce it.
Struggled.
Yeah, McGillione. However, well, I'll leave that to the racecourse commentator. Dennis Hogan trained and ridden. I think you can ignore the pulled up last time at Limerick. He's back to 3 miles on good ground here, which is what he wants. Has been to Cheltenham before. The ground found him out that day. He was third to Ramsey de Tay at Cheltenham in 2019 on absolutely disgusting ground. Remember seeing him that day, and it really was like a bog. Obviously, he's rated 137. If they're heading for the Pertemps, they'll need that to go up a little bit. And I think 14-1 is a fair price. Distance will suit, going will suit, course will suit. So yeah, 1 point each way. The Gillione 4:05 at Cheltenham on Saturday.
A very cogent case, and it will be interesting to see how the Irish horses get on Saturday, and certainly from a handicap in terms as well. It looks like they've all been given a fair bit on top of their Irish handicap as well. Obviously, favourite for that race is Tully Begg, who I saw last time out, and whose form was actually been given a little bit of a sort of sideways boost by the win in the Durham National of Howick or Howick or whatever you want to call it. I'm never quite sure how it was pronounced. Howick, I think it's Howick if it was in Scotland, but this one's Howick. But anyway, he won the Durham National, and he was finishing like a train, but Tully Begg just managed to hold him off when he won last time out. So it will be interesting. Of course, those Pertemps qualifiers, always good to watch for the lovely hands, aren't they? Because getting those first 6 places, and don't ruin your handicap, Mark. And you should be fine. Right. Well, that's McGillone. Let's call it McGillone. 4 places, point each way, 14-1 in that Pertemps qualifier on Saturday for Cathryn. I'm going to go strangely on a weekend when the jumping is starting to come to the fore, with the card at Cheltenham, and obviously an excellent card as well at Kelso. I'm going to go back to Doncaster actually, and I'm going to go in the 2:05 at Doncaster with a horse called Ibiza Rocks for Charlie Hills. I thought this one ran very well last time out. He ran behind the very, very well handicapped Sunray Sunray Major last time out, who was the proverbial blot in the handicap. And in all probability, it wouldn't have mattered where Ibiza Rocks was ridden that day. But if you wind the race back to about sort of 2.5 furlongs out, I don't think there's anything going better than he was. And he was miles, right out the back, came from not quite the sort of impossible position, but he'd actually given the winner about 3 or 4 length start as well, which, given the handicapping on the day, was probably a very, very more than creditable effort. And I thought I wanted to sort of mark that up as well. He disappointed his previous run when he was last of 3 at Leicester, but that race was just a complete and utter mess. I think he probably needs quite a strongly run handicap. He's always been raced at 7 furlongs. He probably looks as though he'll get a little bit further, and it'd be hard to say that there's any handicap blots in this particular race at Doncaster on Saturday. I think I'm going to bottle it out a bit because it's Doncaster and go a point each way at about 11-2, 4 places. But that's Ibiza Rocks in the 2:05 at Doncaster on Saturday. That's my 2-pointer for this week. And that remains to get stuck into the 3-pointers. So, Cathryn, I'm going to let you go first here and get your 3-pointer out.
Yeah, okay. So 3-pointer on the nose tomorrow, Cheltenham at Friday, 2:30. Fidelio Vallis. I think he was just outstayed by T Clipper at Chepstow. Basically, he's dropping back to 1 mile 7, so 2 miles here. I think that will suit him. Ground will suit. I think he's going to be one of Nicholls that gets put away until the spring after this. I don't think he'll particularly want winter ground. I think tomorrow will be one of his last chances to race on decent ground. So to me, I think he's a pretty solid 3-pointer. I will just say I keep harping on about the ground, just to sort of let people know that haven't been in the local area. We hadn't until this week. We hadn't had any rain for a very long time. The last couple of nights, there's been a deluge. But that hasn't really shifted the water table much. The water table in town is normally a good relation to what is going on at the racecourse as well. And it's very dry. We're talking about it in the winter. It can actually look like a proper lake, and there's a bit of a puddle. We've had a very, very dry, hot and humid summer. Cheltenham saying good to soft. I would imagine tomorrow as racing starts, you'll possibly see that change to good. Went past the course yesterday. Excellent coverage of grass on there. Looks in fantastic shape, and I can't see that there will be many complaints, because I think they've probably worked wonders to actually get it to good, and the rain's probably helped them as well. But anyway, back to the 3-pointer. Fidelio Vallis, 3 points for me tomorrow.
Looks a decent race. My only slight worry about Fidelio Vallis, and this is dragging something out of my memory banks here, I can't ever remember him winning before the turn of the year. I think he's always won he's always been a spring horse.
Yeah.
That's my one little, but I do take it on board that the run against T Clipper was a particularly good effort last time out, and I think T Clipper just outstayed him, and it'd be interesting to see how far those two can go in that sphere as well. And it was a pretty decent race as well. Although
they were clear of the rest.
That was returning to one of my bet noir subjects. That was one of the races that we saw the ridiculous camera angle from Chelsea.
That's why I couldn't see the rest.
That's why you couldn't see anything of Present and Counting Captain Tomcat or Grumpy Charlie, who was originally just failed off, but you wouldn't have known where he was because the camera spent most of the home straight stuck up the leader's nose. Just crazy. I have on several occasions asked ATR very politely, or Sky Sports Races now very politely, if they could not even justify that position. Why did they do that? Not a reply. Probably win an award somewhere, but hey ho, don't worry about seeing any proper analysis on anything. Still, never mind. Right, Fidelio Vallis, that's for Cathryn tomorrow. 3 points on the nose, 9-4. Fidelio Vallis to end his dearth wins before the turn of the year. But as you say, the ground might just about be perfect for him. It looks another decent race, doesn't it? With any news in there, one over Ireland in Buddy Rich as well, and third time lucky for the Skeltons as well. So it looks a decent race. Whatever wins that will certainly deserve to win it. Quentin, your 3-pointer, sir.
My 3-pointer, I'm going to keep it simple and go towards the head of the, well, not towards the head of the market, I'm going to the head of the market, in the St Simon's Stakes at Newbury on Saturday. Siscani's the selection. He's 11 to 10. I thought it'd be more a 4 to 6 poke against this. Like, it looks a bad Group 3. He put up a really big figure when winning the old Rolly Cup last time out. Ground will suit, trip will suit. There doesn't look to be a lot of pace in the race, and he's versatile tactically. It looked a decent old Rolly Cup going into it, and he's kicked into touch horses that had fair form. It's generally a race that works out. And you go for the horses here, and you've got Max Vega. He's going to be held up. Ground will suit, but he's just kind of looked. Yeah, not really wanting it the last couple of starts. Ilarab didn't really look to go through with it at Ascot. Mirando, less said about him, the better. It looks up. Yeah, he'll like the ground, but he's not. He is what he is, isn't he? Like, he's not. Yeah. He's not improved. He's just got Siscani's better than this lot. He's a good deal better than this lot. I think he'll be a
race in 2018, Mirando. But I mean, let's say he's 3 years older now. So I completely take your point on board there.
Yeah, a lot's changed over the last 3 years.
Exactly.
So Siscani looks the solid one. I thought it would be about 4 to 6. He's 11 to 10. There's a good chunk of percentage-wise value there. I think he's the one to beat. I just think he'll run him into the ground here. I'm pretty sure he's a Group 2, Group 1 horse in the making, and he'll prove too good for these.
Yeah, you couldn't really fault his win last time out at Newmarket, could you? Beat Farhand, Candleford, Boltaway, all reasonable, horses you would expect to go forward. I thought the fifth in that particular race, Injazati, was definitely one for the notebook. He was the only one who was up there all the way. If he runs again, I'd be particularly interested in him, but it would not surprise me to see Siscani give this a decent form boost. He's been running well all year, hasn't he? Royal Ascot, Glorious Goodwood, he ran well in those handicaps off marks, in the high 90s as well.
They gelded him before the old Rolly Cup, and he just seemed to be the making to bring out that little bit more, even though probably didn't need to bring out that little bit more.
Wouldn't be surprised to see him head to Dubai over the winter, would you? Looks not at all. And as you say, he does look a cliche time, looks a group winner in the making, basically, doesn't he? And whilst you could make cases for horses like Ilarab and Max Vega certainly in what his Ebor run, they don't really have the progression that Siscani has. So 3 points on the nose, 11 to 10. What's not to like about Siscani in the 235, the Virgin Bet St Simon Stakes, registered as the St Simon Stakes on Saturday, is Quentin's 3-pointer this week. For my sins, we are going back to Doncaster for the 3-pointer this week, and I'm going to go 1.5 points each way on Illusionist in the 420. Looks a bit of a tough sprint, but nothing like unravelling a tough sprint. There's some real there should be plenty of pace on in this, and if you saw Illusionist last run at York, he was probably one of the very few winners over those 2 days to come from off the pace. Now, that may well have been helped by the fact that they did go very quick in his race there as well, but that's the sort of race that suits him, and he has been. I still think he's a little bit on the up, and he certainly came from last to first, and there's not many horses in sprints or on the straight track this year at the Knavesmire that have actually managed to do that. And he was actually, if you watch that race back, he was hampered soon after the start, and he stayed on strongly, gained his second victory of the season, and he certainly appreciated the softer ground. He's won over 5, he's won over 6. Both his handicap wins have been gained off a mark of 84. He's slightly higher here, but he has run well off higher marks in the past. Got a liking for soft ground. The ground is currently given as soft. at Doncaster. Looks to be a strong pace on. The yard has been in terrific form all year. And I just thought if you can get, and you can certainly can, you'll have to check this out, you can get 6-1 with 5 places in several generous bookmakers. So each way a pleasure. 1.5 points each way. Illusionist 4.20 at Doncaster on Saturday is my 3-pointer this week. Let's hope they go nice and quickly up front. So that's all the 1, 2, 3s done this week. And as I say, we're a couple of bodies light this week, but it would be useful to go through the 10 ITV races that we've got this week. I'm going to start with the Cheltenham races. Small fields on Friday, well, to kick us off until we get to an 18-runner amateur riders, but it looks a little bit better on Saturday. Certainly some tricky handicaps. We've already had Cathryn's views on the Pertemps qualifier and the Conditionals race that starts the race. I thought there's a few other interesting horses in that race, Cathryn. I wondered what your sort of views were on some of the ones towards the head of the market. I mean, Nichols has won this twice. He's got Sam Reeve in here, who's a dual hurdles winner. I think Fergal O'Brien's got an interesting one in here as well with Samba Dancer. Any of those you see as a danger to your selection?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it was the other one of Fergal's that I thought was a danger with Lily Pinchin on. So she still claims the 3 Byzantine Empire. I thought with Lily claiming 3, that was probably a danger. I think like it's this race. To be honest, if I hadn't seen sort of something like Uncle Henry declared in it, I probably wouldn't bet in it. This is sort of normally a race that I would just watch. It's just that I've had him in my tracker for so long that I kind of have to, and he just perks your ears up a bit, especially the outfit that he comes from. But yeah, it'd be no surprise, like you say, Nichols 2 wins in this series. It'd be no surprise to see it go in, but I don't think I would be betting in this race at 2-1, to be honest with you. That's just not my type of bet. I think there's also Mitchell Bastian is riding really well at the moment. Which is great to see.
I'm really pleased to see him back. Actually, I first saw him ride as I think he was an amateur at the time, and he rode a couple of terrific races at I think certainly some slow boat at Lingfield. And managed to get this up, and I actually managed to talk to him a couple of times when I was doing a bit of TV work. Lovely lad, and then he sort of just disappeared, as some of these lads do, and it's really great to see him back riding really well. I thought he's given the horse Sergeant some super rides lately, because that is not, although that horse travels, it's not the easiest horse to win on. Because I don't think it finds a lot when he hits the front, and he is riding very, very well at the moment. Seems to have struck up a good partnership with Milton Harris.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they had a winner today.
They did,
yeah. So, and obviously Paul Henderson, he's trained winners at Cheltenham before. You can always see that he's got horses that come here with a chance. But as I say, if it wasn't for Uncle Henry, it wouldn't be a betting contest for me. I think he could. It's one of those where you could go through and there's every single one of them's got a shout, even right down to the bottom end of the runner for Paul Henderson, San Pedro, 66-1. He's not even out of it, but I've got to stick with Uncle Henry.
You stick to your guns, Cathryn. The winner that Mitchell Bastian had this afternoon with Milton Harris was the bumper winner. Know when to hold them is.
Excellent.
You've got to know when to fold them as well. Moving on Saturday, we've got the 220, the handicap chase. Of course, we could have an emotional winner here because cloth cap for the sadly departed Trevor Hemmings now, one of the greats and the best people in the National Hunt game. Put an awful lot into the game. Lovely man. I met him on several occasions. Always loved to talk about his horses. And I saw Nicky Richards talking about him this afternoon. And one of the great things that he did with all his horses, he gave his trainers time as well, which is a commodity some owners could do with giving trainers sometimes as well. But cloth cap, first time we've seen him since he was pulled up in the Grand National, 11-2 favourite. And he's had a wind up as well, so he could have an emotional winner here. Any thoughts on this one, Cathryn?
Yeah, it's not a betting race for me, but there is one in here that I do have in my tracker, but kind of more to spring, because I don't know whether he's gonna be popping up in a big field handicap at one of the spring festivals, and that's definite plan of one of Gordon's that's coming over. Wears pieces for the first time here, and considering like his form, like he's run decent, but wouldn't really be setting the world alight yet. Considering the type of horse that's in here, when you compare him to the likes of Cloth Cap, he looks like kind of the odds compilers have got his measure, and they're probably thinking along the same lines, because he's only a 10-1 shot here. I don't know whether see, he's only rated 131, so when you compare him to the like of Cloth Cap on 156, he's got a fair old, he's got 20 odd pounds to find, but he is on my radar. So I'll be very, very interested to see what they're going to be doing with him on Saturday. You've got the likes of Chockers Lodge, who's probably warming up to go back to something like the Welsh National. There's long distance ones. Another 10-1 shot that takes the eye a bit, again, likes Cheltenham, is Sean Curran's Domaine de Lisle. A big fan of that horse. I don't think it's...
He's done well to get him back, hasn't he? Because he
has. He lost his way for a bit.
Came first onto the scene, lost his way, and then those 2 wins he got him back to have done very well, and ridden by the excellent David Bass. I really do think he, if you want a horse ridden from there's 2 jockeys who I think are really underrated from the front. One is David Bass, who gets horses into a lovely rhythm, and the other one is Gavin Sheehan. Absolutely mustard from the front. Well, I think he's a good jockey all round, but from the front, I think he's very, very good. And those 2 just sort of, they just not under the radar, but just a little bit underrated. And I think Bass will suit Domaine de Lisle down to the ground, and it's nice to see him back. The one who, for me, who probably again not a betting proposition at the price, but who loves this sort of time of the year, this ground, and if he gets in a rhythm out in front, is Storm Control. Who ran well round Cheltenham last year. Again, his form's tailed off a little bit. Well, I just think he maybe just have had enough there.
Yeah, stable in form. Richard Patrick, I think he had a winner today as well. He's riding very well at the moment, and when it's the same thing, isn't it? When the confidence is riding high, they tend to go in. I think it's an intriguing race. It probably will just be watching, but definite plan. There's something going on there which shouldn't surprise anyone, but there is a definite plan. Let's say
there may well be a definite plan. Quentin, any views on any of the twig hoppers?
Nothing on the twig hoppers for me, sadly.
I shall leave you in silence for a minute and come back to you for Newbury and Doncaster.
It'll be me silent on Newbury and Doncaster.
It's enjoyable listening to be honest.
We move on. The 255, the 4-year-old hurdle. We've only got 4 runners in this.
Go to the bar, Andy. Go to the bar.
Which particular one would you be frequenting?
I don't know. I don't really. I guess I don't drink. I don't really go in them. I tend to spend most of my time, if I'm not working, then I tend to spend most of my time outside.
Well, as we have neither Lee or John this evening, I know. I can't get. I have to get the words that the bar stewards are famous for: the gin and pate race. So this may well be the gin and pate race. It's my cup of tea race. But Tritonic, I suppose, is interesting here with the 5th in the Triumph. It was a little bit disappointing.
I was disappointed in that, I have to say. Obviously, Alan King's in form under both codes at the moment. So, you could see, I don't think we'll learn much if he does go out and win on Saturday. I think if he does, it'll be sort of a bit of a sort of few moment for them. But I was disappointed. But then I don't know. I think if you look back at the festival as a English follower of national racing, it's pretty much cringe the whole time, isn't it?
I think it was a damn good thrashing. I think I did see one very. I'm not sure if you can actually purchase these, but there was somebody I saw on Twitter today. There were mugs and T-shirts with a map of Ireland with all the race courses on, and then Cheltenham on just a complete blank of the English, Welsh and Scottish race courses, but just Cheltenham on as well, added into all the Irish race guide. I thought, well, you couldn't really argue with that. What was it? Was it 23.5?
It's just so embarrassing.
It's just a fair thrashing, I think, was the answer.
Yeah, I think this back to race. It's just a watching brief. This, I mean, I honestly couldn't call it. It's quite the horse that the Stepney Causeway for the Skeletons, that's had a wind up as well.
It has, yeah.
Had some good runs at the back end of last season, going off odds on both times. Yeah, I'd be interested to see. I suppose this will be the first kind of real test for that horse into the Skeletons. He was beaten quite a long way by Tritonic at Ascot in January. But yeah, I think obviously they went a bit easier on him at the back end of last season, giving him a wind up. He could very well step up, especially when you have a question mark over the likes of Tritonic.
Yes, that's a definite gin and pate race for me. The 2 mile handicap looks marginally more interesting. Of course, Harry Whittington has won this the last 2 years with Rouge Vif and St Calvados. He has no representative this time, so we'll have a
it was a bit shit that his horses got taken away from him, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Because he was just having a bad year. We all have bad years. You know, if he kind of had really not done anything with them for a good few seasons, you could kind of understand. I kind of do feel for him in that way.
It comes back to the point I was making about Trevor Hemmings, wasn't it?
Being loyal, yeah.
He gave trainers time and there was that loyalty, but loyalty is sometimes a quality and a commodity that is sadly lacking with some owners. I'd probably get myself in a lot of trouble if I started mentioning some owners. I'm really there's always that dichotomy.
Missing John, do a John.
Well, yeah. There's always that dichotomy that you've got where you're pleased to see the horse win, but you don't really want to see it win because you don't like the owner. And I'm sure everybody has got horses like that.
Or the trainer, yeah.
There is that as well. Yeah, it's more often for my money. It's more often the owner a lot of the time that I'm just sort of like, I wish they didn't have that. I wish that was owned by someone, like a Trevor Hemmings or someone like that. But hey ho, we do go down that route. As I say, it's unfortunate this week. Sky Pirate heads the market. Now he's an interesting horse. Of course, won 3 of his last 4 and then won the Grand National over course and distance. I think before midnight, he was a horse I had marked down as, very, very solid last year. Good horse for Sam Thomas as well last year. Looked a bit sort of unfortunate at times, and then produced some very good runs at the end of last year.
Yes.
And it looks a good sort of dust up between these two, because Sky Pirate was really, it was a horse who I just thought this horse is going to, dog it.
Yeah, exactly. I had him all wrong. And I think it was it Cheltenham in December when he got his head in front. Yeah. It was
You're sitting there, I was sitting there hovering over the pin thinking, I'm going to lay this in a minute. Oh, he's gone through with the effort this time. Oh dear. And that seemed to kickstart. He won 3 of his 4 starts, dropped back to 2 miles. Of course, won the Grand Annual over course and distance. Not seen since then, but it looks of the races that are there. The 2 chases to me, stand up pretty well, and this one does.
Yeah.
Anything that sort of takes your fancy at bigger prices, Cathryn?
Not necessarily at the bigger prices, but I do quite taken with Belagus the back end of last season when he won at Sandown. Obviously comes back in trip here, but again, Niall Houlihan is riding very, very well at the moment.
He had a hat trick the other day, didn't he?
Exactly, yeah. And if we're going to go with the old recency bias, and the fact that he gets in here be just carrying the 10 stone. Nick Gifford's horses again are running well. I like to go sort of really with like patterns, trainers in form. Another one, Leap Away. Obviously, again, this could be one of his last chances to get decent ground before the weather turns. Philip Hobbs, which is great to see that his stable is back in form as well. So pleased to see Tom O'Brien finally getting his day in the limelight. Jockey I think he's absolutely fantastic jockey. And again, I think obviously you've got the likes of Sky Pirate and those who kind of run on through the winter and run on through the deep ground and everything like that. But I think that we could still be, it's kind of that funny part of the season, isn't it? You've got like the sort of really good summer jumpers finishing off their campaigns, and they can come in and very easily, win these races on this decent ground. But yeah, I think I might have a little flutter on Pelagus.
You hit on a good point there, because you look at especially this sort of October month, and you look at them and you think, oh, they've had a really good summer, and the handicappers just got started to get hold of them, or the ground has just started to go, and then you've got the sort of other tranche of horses, the really good winter horses coming out, and you're thinking they might have a couple of pounds in hand, but are they quite there yet, quite tip top? So it's a sort of it's always the problem that I have with form at this time of the year, or looking at races, and it probably makes me hold off a little bit more, is the fact that you've just got that little bit of juxtaposition of horses at the moment. You just think, you've got those very good summer horses, and there isn't really one in this who's been running well. I suppose Hatcher has been running relatively well lately. I wouldn't really particularly trust him at this sort of level. Solar Impulse has been running over the summer. Leap Away is the one you mentioned, really. I've sort of changed my opinion a little bit on him, actually, because I thought he had a little bit of a screw loose at one stage, and then you've got,
he's looked fairly straightforward recently.
Then you've got Before Midnight and Sky Pirate coming back, who obviously we could be seeing throughout the winter. I think that's what I think. The two chases were the fascinating races here. You've discussed the Pertemps qualifier already, and I think we've probably done that.
Yeah, McAloney.
Fairly. You're with the unpronounceable.
You say McAloney.
McAloney. Say it quickly, and you'll get away with it. I thought Tullybeg coming over was interesting. Haulaway has been running well. One of my old favourites, to be fair.
Yes.
Now 11. He's in that. Jordi Deschamps coming back to hurdles after he didn't really impress over fences the other day. Pushed the tempo. I thought did well at Worcester over the summer. Second
run-up, absolutely.
First time he tried that sort of trip, and the very consistent Havana Hermano as well, who ran a cracking race at Uttoxeter the last time out. So that is, it's a decent, again, a very, very, you wouldn't expect any of that, a very, very competitive handicap. But we know where you are with that, Patrick. I'm going to bring Quentin back in now while we discuss the 5 races on the level that ITV are showing us on Saturday. The Horris Hill, Quentin, any particular views on that Group 3 for 2-year-olds?
That was an interesting race, to be honest. Maybe not so much from a betting point of view, but it was, I don't know, it's a race full of intrigue. You've kind of got Noble Truth at the top of the market, who looks a bit flaky there. He comes in highest rated, but he kind of picked up that rating from a race at Longchamp, and I think we'd all said on the podcast that it looked a bad race, and it was won by Angel Blur, so he got bumped up 5 for that. So he's 6 clear of Who You Mal now. But I think he's shorter than he should be. I think Who You Mal should probably be a bit closer to him. That would be my betting point of view, is a nose behind at Doncaster. But Who You Mal looks the type to continue progressing with racing. He's had a month and a bit off now to hopefully strengthen up a bit more. Noble Truth, the way he went through the race at Longchamp, I didn't particularly like the way he carried himself. Just kind of race a bit freely and a bit with the head to one side. So I'm not sure it'll be seen to best effect in desperate ground come Saturday. The other one that was interesting was Light Infantry. He's a tricky one to assess. I kind of went into his Yarmouth race thinking, okay, fine, it's a fast company on rattling fast ground. It's Simcock. I can't have this first time up. And I think I ended up laying him for a bit in the pulled like stink and absolutely bolted up. Put in some decent late sectionals, but I think he'll improve for the ground. But the pulling and the form and the fact he's up in trip just gives me enough doubt that 4-1, 5-1, he looks short enough given what he's done. I know the seconds came out and won since, and the thirds came second at Redcar, but them 2 bits of form don't look great. The rest, it doesn't look deep. You've got some scraping around, trying to scratch around for a bit of black type here, and Regimental Gents. Akiba Bay's been on the missing list since a promising debut at Haydock in May. Yeah, it looks a 5-horse race, if you would. But nothing really from a betting point of view. Who your Mal would be the more interesting one. Noble Truth looks a bit short.
I think I probably agree with you there. He does drop in grade. He has on official ratings got £6 in hand, hasn't he? Over Who You Mal, who he did just enough to see off at what was it, enlisted race at Doncaster in September. And then there's that only beaten by a Angel Blur in that Group 1 last time out. I know he won't mind the ground. Both obviously Charlie Appleby has a good chance because you obviously tipped up Tuscany already. Light Infantry. Yeah, it's an interesting race, but it wouldn't be a race I'd be wanting to get heavily involved with. I think you can throw in Dubai Poet and Cresta in there as well. Dubai Poet actually won his novice there in September, and I maybe just found the Autumn Stakes over a mile last time out. I think he just found that a little bit too far. So I certainly wouldn't be. It's one of those where Noble Truth, I wouldn't be a backer, but I wouldn't be a layer either. That sounds like I'm getting splinters in my backside, but it's one of those, isn't it? You sort of sit on the fence and think, well, do I really want to get involved? So I'm happy enough to stay out of that. We've already covered the St Simon Stakes. We know, Tuscany, and I think we both agree on that. It's probably his race to lose, to use a cliche there. So we'll move on to Doncaster, and of course we see the final Group 1 race of the season in GB. Anyhow, for the 2-year, with the 2-year-olds, there's 8 going to post in the Vertem Futurity, and Luxembourg, the winner of the Beresford Stakes last time out, is the favourite for Aidan O'Brien, who amazingly hasn't won the race for the last 2 years because he's got a good record in this race. Your views on this, Quentin?
It looks Luxembourg's. We'll kind of break them down. Luxembourg was deadly impressive last time out, but I think we had said, what did the race kind of become? The sole market rival underperformed, and it's kind of like the market foresaw that one overperforming. Luxembourg was strong into 8-13 at the off. Royal Patronage. I think John had said, why are they running him? Put him away. Just why keep running the horse? Like, you've won a Group 2. Right. Yeah, it is, and it is that. And I was trying to price something up in my head about how many times we'll see him before the Derby, and four's probably odds on, isn't it? It's just give the horse a rest.
I'm a buyer at 4. There you go.
Yeah. It's give the horse a break. Like, you don't need to dance every dance. He doesn't need to have 42 runs before he's halfway through his 3-year-old season. So yeah, the one I was leaning towards was John's Lovely Hands one in Sissoko. But it was kind of 20-1 in the week, and I thought, do I get involved in that? And by the time I come round to deciding to get involved, I looked round and it was 12-1, and now it's what 10s.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a race where everything's now tight, but I like the figure he put up. Drop back in trips a doubt, but heavier ground should suit him. It doesn't look a vintage race in Vertem Futurity, sorry. I'd probably be playing him in the place markets. Hopefully Royal Patronage takes him on like the Clappers and gives him a nice toe into things. That's kind of how I'd play it. There doesn't look to be any juice in the Luxembourg price for me, but then he's not underpriced. He looks priced right.
No, and if I sort of give a few sort of trends on the race, then he scores very, very highly on those. Is the Beresford winner the favourite? Favourites have got a good record in this race. They've won 8 of the last 12 run-ins. There have been a few longer price winners. Palace Episode 20-1, Authorised at 25, Marcel at 33. So there are a few shockers in there. Aidan O'Brien, he had 5 entries in this, and he relies on one. 3 of his winners, Camelot, Saxon Warrior, and Grisha Magna, went on to win the 2,000 guineas. And Camelot later emulated the same stable's High Chaparral by winning the Derby. So there is a bit of sort of credence in the race as well. Royal Patronage, of course, won the Acomb. But as you say, it does seem very, very exposed now, and I like that terminology. Danced every dance, hadn't he? Of the 21 winners this century, 17 had finished first or second last time out. 12 were winners, and 16 had run within the last 4 weeks, and 10 had already won over a mile. If those are any help to anyone, but I thought Bayside Boy was quite interesting. Just maybe trying to, if you're excluding or a little bit negative on Royal Patronage and the Dead Eight go to post, I thought Bayside Boy took on the possible each way thievery angle. There is a little bit of 7-1 available somewhere. He won the Champagne Stakes in September. I thought he ran pretty well in the Dewhurst when he stayed on to be third. Didn't think he was the world's worst, but and let's say I wouldn't be opposing the favourite Luxembourg. It would be more a sort of play in those Betfair place markets for Bayside Boy in that Vertem Futurity. The Doncaster Stakes, 6 furlongs, is next up. Quentin, any views on this at all?
It's kind of very much end of season fair, isn't it? You've got small fields, you've got soft ground, you've got a few races with skinny prize favourites, and not really a lot to move around, because it was sound very blogger. The favourites look kind of half solid this weekend.
Good old blogger.
Yeah, which is worrying, because if you get involved in the favourites, he's on, then they don't seem to win then, do they? So yeah,
on the bookmaker double from some far-flung Eastern European state. With his selfie stick, you can all lob on that, and of course we'll that nice short price double. Affiliates welcome.
I do actually fancy one in the Futurity actually.
Fire away, Cathryn. Fire away. I'm sorry I left you out.
No. I forgot, it was my fault. I actually forgot to mention it earlier. I actually fancy Nasty Jim's McTeague, 33-1. It just smacks of a Nasty Jim special, really. Obviously, late coming to the course as 2-year-old. I think didn't come to the course till the Galway Festival. I think he'll appreciate the ground. Won over a mile at Leopardstown, I believe. Yep, yielding grounds. I just think it's just got "I am Nasty Jim" written all over it. Again, I don't have obviously the flat knowledge that you and Quentin would have, but just sometimes I like to have a little dip in, and that's one I'm backing on Saturday.
Fair enough. McTeague.
Yes.
Yeah, McTeague won at Leopardstown over a mile, beating Chicago Soldier. He actually had an entry in the National Stakes, but they obviously thought that was a little bit too sharp for him. So a mile here for Nasty Jim. He may well be the Kilt versus Nasty Jim, eh? There's no other pseudonyms in there. Well, I'm sure I can think of one for Roger Varian soon as well.
There's the fetus. There's
yes.
It's got one.
Yes, the fetus is also in there.
And Harry Potter.
Yeah, and Harry Potter, and there's several in there. No baby Joseph yet, unfortunately. Well, thank you for that, Cathryn. We're back to the other 2-year-old race. Quentin, anything there that, as you say, you could probably go all blogger on this, couldn't you?
Yeah, I think the favourite looks solid, to be honest. You kind of look at the race and you think some of them have to grow a leg to win the race, and the others have to improve a stone. Like, you've got Diodora put in second favourite. He was fine on debut, but that form's nothing special. Witch Hunter's been beat twice since. Admittedly unlucky at Salisbury. Botanist couldn't win a poor race at Brighton. Neptunian did win at Newcastle, but kind of half scrambled home. That doesn't, and he's second favourite at 11-4. Flaming Ribulus looks rock solid, to be honest. You got Kit Gabriel Mohi clash again from Wolverhampton, but yeah, it looks the favourites to lose. Like, you kind of you can't really pick holes in him.
We're at that he's got season where as I was discussing with Cathryn there, that certainly the jumpers. you're at that stage of the season where you're not quite sure whether the summer jumpers can carry on or the winter jumpers can come on and take their place at the moment. With the flat season, my question mark running around in my head most of the time is, are these over the top? Just had that little bit, even the good ones, have they had one run too many this year? And I think I was certainly very guilty of that the other week with Hurricane Ivor. I was certainly very guilty of that because I thought he just had one run too many. Again, I think he'll be a very good sprinter next year. But you just think, well, he was just over the top. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have a view on this particular race. It's 2-year-olds. There's probably a few tilting at windmills here and say who can blame them on bad ground. Another race where I'd be quite happy to stick the kettle on. That would do for me. And the 5 furlong handicap, well, I'm rowing in with Illusionist. Anything there for either of you? Bit of 5 furlong sprint handicap at Doncaster.
Not for me. I've had the just have a little.
You've had your flat.
Yeah, I've had the flat dose for now. Yeah.
Absolutely nothing from me. I've looked through it. Sprint handicaps aren't really my bag, to be fair. There's a few in there like you said earlier, it's going to be run at a pace. You'll probably run at a pace. It's at Doncaster. Yeah. Maybe look for something that's going to be held up and come late. That's probably my advice on a race. A
massive pace collapse again, and say the extra places sort of drew me in as a sort of mathematical angle. Really, you're just trying to, maybe just a sort of almost a sort of bet to, not quite the proverbial bet to nothing, but it did sort of draw me in there, and I thought that was probably the way to go. Right. Well, we are all done and dusted, unless there is any other business that you would like to discuss this weekend. Anything lurking in your trackers for Friday, Saturday or Sunday? Quentin.
What have I got? Give me 1 second. I just don't make good podcasting, but I tipped I'd walk a horse in Tidal Storm in the maiden yesterday, or the novice tomorrow even, at Newbury. I couldn't put anyone off his other one in the, I think it's in the 13:38 at Newbury. I think it's about, let me just quickly check, 25 to 1. It's called King Alfred. I thought he went like a horse with ability on debut. He kind of travelled well throughout a Newmarket race that started to work out, and then didn't handle the dip. I did read somewhere that he possibly missed, his palate shifted and caused him all sorts of breathing problems. But he went like a horse with ability. That form's kind of started to work out. Thunder Queen won at Wolverhampton, and Indy Moon came out and won a Newmarket novice yesterday. So it looks okay form. This doesn't look too strong. 25 looks a bit overpriced. I'm surprised he's that sort of price, given he went like he had a horse, given he went like a horse with ability, drops down half a furlong, and he looked to have a nice bit of physical scope about him as well.
King Alfred in the opener tomorrow at Newbury for Quentin, sort of AOB one. And Cathryn, I'll be very disappointed. Now, come on, there's Galway on this weekend.
I know, yeah, but
Galway
nothing. No.
On Saturday and Sunday. There must be one of Emmett's, whether it's called Tom, Dick, or Harry. I
haven't got any Irish lurkers, and the ones that are both running at Cheltenham. Uncle Henry and Definite Plan. They're the only Irish horses in the tracker for this weekend. They both run over here, but I will be obviously watching.
Of course. Well, you see, we let you out the cellar. we put John in the cellar for a week, let you out, and that's what we come up with.
A week? He's down there for life.
I don't know. Right, that will do for this weekend. Thank you to Quentin. Thank you to Cathryn for all their input this weekend. Get well soon to Lee. And let's hope everything is okay with John and his family emergency. I'm sure the boys, John and Lee, will be back on Sunday. As I understand, I have got it written down in front of me here. It's a Bar Steward Sunday sermon special on Sunday. What other day would it be on? And they will have a special guest, none other than Miss Gay Kellaway, who I'm sure will have some forthright views.
Awesome.
Gay was the first lady to ride a Royal Ascot winner, and I'm sure she will have plenty of views on the world of racing. So that's on Sunday, a Bar Stewards Sunday sermon special with Lee, Gay and John, of course, who will be back. It only remains to me to say thank you to Quentin, thank you to Cathryn this evening, and wish you all a very best with your punting, whether it be flat or twig hoppers on Friday, Saturday and Sunday this weekend. We'll be back, I'll say the boys will be back on Sunday, and we'll be back next week, probably our usual time on Friday, with more 3, 2, 1 selections for your notebooks. Thanks very much for listening. Bye for now.
Right, the show's over, boys. Thank you very much.